My name is Izzy Sabatino, and I am the summer intern at Strong Schools, Maryland. One of my projects this summer has been working to transform the often hard-to-digest raw data published by the state into a series of interactive data dashboards, separated by blueprint pillar and accessible for the general public. In this video, I'm going to take you through the dashboard for Pillar 4, More Resources for All Students to Be Successful. The first part of this dashboard I want to draw your attention to is this pie chart. This chart breaks down the percent of money each district is spending on various types of programming contained within the blueprint, excluding foundational spending. By clicking through the districts here, we can see how this spending breakdown can vary greatly district by district. For additional context, we can connect this spending breakdown to the student demographics seen across the various districts. For example, looking here at the economically disadvantaged student group concentration across districts, if we click on the district with the highest concentration, in this case, Somerset with 76.9%, we can see that this district spends 14.2% of its funds on concentration of poverty programs. In contrast, Carroll County, which has the lowest concentration of this student demographic group at 24.1%, spends a mere 0.5% of its funds on concentration of poverty programming. Another example of this type of relationship is a district's multilingual learners concentration and their spending on English learners programming. If we look here, Prince George's County, with 26% multilingual learners, spends 23% of its funding on English learners programming, and Dorchester, with only 5.6% multilingual learners, spends over 20% less, or 4.9%, on English learners programming. This same pattern is observed between farm students and compensatory education program funding, and between students with disabilities and special education program funding. These relationships are a result of the way in which the blueprint legislation allocates funding to districts based on each individual student's characteristics and needs. Additional information on the specific ways in which the blueprint legislation functions can be found across our website. Next, let's look at this bar graph in the upper right corner. It shows a simple relationship between the percent of funding a district spends on English learning programming and multilingual student success, quantified here by the AP passage rate of this student group. The size of the bars is representative of the number of multilingual learners each district has. We can observe a fairly linear relationship between funding directed towards and the success of multilingual student groups. Next, we'll take a quick look at this scatter plot, which shows the relationship between total wealth per pupil and the state and local funding breakdown. Here, we can clearly see that the amount of funding which stems from local sources is extremely correlated with the wealth of the student population within that district. Higher per pupil wealth, as seen in green, equates to a higher local share of funding per pupil. Again, this is aligned with what we would expect to see based on the blueprint legislation. Finally, we'll direct our attention to the bottom of the dashboard, which looks at the correlation between chronic absenteeism in districts and the proportion of funds they are currently spending on concentration of poverty programming. This area chart allows us to see the very close relationship between the two, signified by these overlapping peaks. This makes sense, as a large part of concentration of poverty programming is the Community School Initiative, which is meant to directly address issues such as chronic absenteeism. This correlation between spending on programming and need is a good sign, and again, is how the blueprint is intended to function. So, I hope that you found the information in this video interesting and enlightening. The full dashboards and additional written information are available on our website, where you can also interact fully with each dashboard yourself. Thank you.